Hi, and welcome back to the Live Your Best Life podcast. And today I'm in the Philippines. So I'm sat outside by the pool and I've already people around. So if there is some background noise, I apologise. But when I'm travelling, it's not always possible to find really quiet spaces. There isn't a co-working space near here that I can go and hire. So yeah, I hope you can hear me okay. So today's topic is supplements, and I want to approach this episode slightly differently because there's literally thousands of supplements out there. Every week there's a new one being promoted as the next best thing. But the question is, do we really need supplements? And if we do, which ones are worth considering? So rather than giving you a huge list of supplements that you could take, I'm going to look at some of the common things that we might want help with, and I'll give you my top things to consider for each one. Now, a quick disclaimer before we start. This isn't medical advice, and supplements aren't appropriate for everybody. Some can interact with medications, and some aren't suitable during pregnancy or with certain medical conditions. Natural doesn't always automatically mean safe, so if you do have a pre-existing medical condition or if you're on any medications, please do double check before you start taking anything new. And another message that I wanted to get across today is that supplements are exactly that. They are supplements. They should complement a healthy lifestyle, but they're definitely not there to completely replace it. So let's get into it. So first up is gut health and digestive health. So we're talking bloating, constipation, indigestion, nausea, and just generally feeling like your digestive system isn't particularly happy. So the first supplement I would recommend is fibre. We often tend to talk more about probiotics, but your gut bacteria need something to eat too. So increasing fibre through vegetables, fruit, whole grains, beans, lentils, nuts and seeds is one way that you can do the best thing for your gut microbiome. You can also supplement fibre if you're not getting enough in your diet, or if you're on a low-calorie diet, it could be helpful to supplement your fibre. And if you're looking specifically at supplements, obviously probiotics are worth considering, but they aren't all the same. Different strains have different effects, so it's important to look for a product that's been actually studied for the particular issue that you're trying to address. Then there's some herbs that we can try. So ginger and peppermint are really good for the digestive system. Ginger has been traditionally used for digestive discomfort and nausea, while peppermint can be useful for digestive symptoms such as bloating and cramping. But this is where we need to look at the whole picture. So rather than thinking what's the best gut supplement, think about what is my diet like? Am I getting enough fibre? Do I eat enough variety of plant foods? And is there a particular symptom I want to address? Because then once we've looked at the whole picture, we can then look at, is there a specific supplement that I need to try? So next up is the menopause. So this is an area where there's an enormous number of supplements being marketed specifically to women. But we don't need to take everything just because it's labelled menopause support. We need to match the supplement to the specific issue that you're experiencing. And as every woman's experience is completely different because of the number of hormones involved and their different shifting levels, there is no one best supplement. So something that might work for me might not work for you because our symptoms are slightly different. So what can we consider? So the first thing I'd say is magnesium. This is involved in hundreds of processes in the body, and if you aren't getting enough in your diet, it can affect your energy and your sleep levels. So then I'd look at vitamin D and calcium because they become increasingly important for bone health as we age. I'd also consider collagen for your skin and hair, and turmeric for inflammation. So I know for me personally, inflammation was my first real symptom with my frozen shoulder, and turmeric was one of the things I used to help with that. And I've continued to use it since because I have found that I'm just more prone to sort of niggles and aches and pains. Then there's some plant-based compounds and herbs that we can look at. So things like black cohosh have been very well studied for menopause symptoms, but again, what works for one person won't work for another because we need to match the herbs with the specific symptoms. So one thing I'd really just like to mention is that herbal medicine is very interesting, but it's not just harmless because it comes from plants. Some of these remedies are very strong. They can interact with medications. So if you're on hormone replacements, or if you're on any other medications, or if you've got medical conditions, just double check with your doctor or with a nutritionist or a herbalist to make sure that the herbs aren't going to interact with something that you're already taking. But there's loads of different things we can try for the menopause. It's literally just about working out what specific symptoms you're trying to remedy. I've tried several different compounds where there's so many supplements out there that are a mix of different herbs. I tried one that was really good for me. So it must have just happened to have a combination of herbs that did match my symptoms. But I did try several other brands that I didn't really notice any difference. So when you're taking a formula, it's not always, you don't always know what's in that formula, or is it the combination of the different herbs that is working. So sometimes it's a case of just trying different things to see what works for you. So the next one is brain fog and low energy. So this may also be one of your menopause symptoms, but obviously there's lots of different causes for this. So I'd be careful about just simply reaching for a supplement, because brain fog, low energy and tiredness can have lots of different causes. So we also need to look at if we've got poor sleep, is our stress level really high, are we not eating enough, are we low in things like iron and vitamin B12, is there a thyroid problem underlying. There's lots of different things that can contribute to this, but the main supplements that I would look at are things like B12 and iron. If you're not getting enough in your diet, then they can affect your energy levels. But I would be inclined to get a test first, especially for iron, just to make sure that you are actually deficient, rather than just taking a supplement for the sake of it. And then another thing that is a really interesting one at the moment is creatine. So most people know of this as a sports supplement for its well-established role in muscle and performance, but it's also being researched for its cognitive benefits to help with things like dementia. So I've been using this. It's something I've used for years on and off. Hadn't used it for a while, and then the last probably year I've got back into using it regularly, and I definitely feel like my brain fog from the menopause has decreased since I've been back using creatine on a daily basis. So that's another one that's definitely worth looking into. The next section is weight loss. So this is probably the biggest supplement market of all. There are so many supplements that are claiming to speed up your metabolism, burn fat, suppress your appetite and stop you absorbing calories. So let's start with the obvious. There is no magic fat burning supplement. And I know what you're going to say, what about the GLP-1s? Now, yes, they are weight loss supplements, but the GLP-1s, they don't just target fat. If you're losing weight off a GLP-1, you're also losing muscle and potentially bone mass as well. So it's really important. It's not a completely magic thing. We do need to look at maintaining muscle long term. So if you are on a GLP-1, you really want to be doing some weight training or just other resistance training. And also looking at your nutrition, so that when you stop using them, you can maintain that fat loss. So what else can we look at, whether or not you're using one of the GLPs? The first thing, again, is fibre. So something like psyllium can increase the amount of fibre that you're intaking, or you can increase the amount of fibre you're eating. But if you are in a calorie deficit, you may be low in fibre just purely because your total calories are low. It will help you feel fuller, which is always useful if you're trying to lose fat. Then there's protein powder. Again, not a fat burner, but particularly useful during weight loss because it will help you maintain your muscle, which helps you keep your metabolism higher, and will help you maintain the fat loss after the diet. It also helps you feel full, which again, when you're in a calorie deficit, is really useful. The next thing I was going to suggest is something like L-carnitine. Now, this is involved in transporting fatty acids into the mitochondria, where it produces energy. So this is why it's become popular as a fat burner. There is some evidence that L-carnitine can produce a small amount of additional weight loss in some people, but we're talking about a modest effect. This is not something that's going to transform your physique on its own. It needs to be alongside the calorie deficit and the exercise. So I'd put this in a category of being potentially useful but not magic. Another interesting one is sea kelp. So this is a seaweed and it's a source of iodine. Now iodine is really important for the thyroid, which plays an important role in regulating metabolism. So if you want to boost your metabolism, if you're low in iodine or if your thyroid's a bit sluggish, this is something that could help. But if you're not deficient, you won't notice a difference. So I think you'll see there's a common theme here that if you're deficient in something, taking a supplement is going to help, but it won't help everybody because you might not need it. So this is where sometimes just getting some blood tests first can help rule out some things before you just go out and buy every supplement there is, because some of them you might just not need. More of something isn't always better, so we do want to make sure we are taking the right things for us. And definitely with the iodine as well, if you're already on thyroid medication, it's going to interact, so you want to be careful. So if you have got any kind of pre-existing issue with your thyroid, or if you suspect you have, get it checked before you just start taking a supplement. So then we go on to things like caffeine and green tea. So caffeine can increase our energy expenditure and fat oxidation in the short term, and green tea contains compounds that have been investigated for their effects on metabolism. So again, we are talking about small effects. This is not a license to eat whatever you want and then just take a green tea capsule. So the message I really want you to take away from the weight loss supplements is, what is the problem you're trying to solve? Do you need more protein? Would fibre help? Are you struggling with hunger? Are you trying to preserve muscle? Are you deficient in something that's affecting your energy? And these are really important questions. So rather than what is the strongest fat burner that I can buy. So we need to do the fundamentals like the calorie deficit, adequate protein, resistance training, exercise, cardio, your non-exercise activity, and good sleep. And then once we're all doing all those things and we've got a diet that we can stick to, the supplements are there just to give you a bit of extra support around the edges. They're not there to replace the foundations. So next up is sports performance. Now, this is one that's been so heavily researched. The number one is creatine monohydrate, probably the most researched sports supplement there is. It's particularly good for strength, power and high intensity exercise. So that would be 100% top of my list. Then there's protein. Again, technically a food, but we can supplement. Protein powder is a really convenient way of reaching your protein requirements. And especially if you are in a calorie deficit, it's a really calorie efficient way of getting your protein levels up. It's going to support your muscle and recovery from training. The next thing I would suggest is electrolytes. So if you're doing activity where you sweat heavily, or if you're exercising for long periods of time, or you're training in hot conditions, electrolytes can just help replenish your salts and all the electrolytes in your body. Caffeine can come into the conversation because there's evidence that it helps alertness, and this can be useful in many aspects of exercise and sports performance. Then there's other supplements, things like beta-alanine, which can delay muscle fatigue, beetroot, which can boost endurance by improving blood flow. But you don't need to take every supplement on the shelf. Sometimes we just need to, again, look at the whole picture: sleep, food, a well-designed training program, and then look at the performance need and match the supplement to that. So next up is stress and overwhelm. Now, this is where I'm going to introduce the term adaptogens. So these are plants or herbs traditionally used to help the body adapt to physical or psychological stress. So you'll hear a lot about them in the wellness world. Some of the better known ones are ashwagandha and rhodiola. Ashwagandha has been studied in relation to stress and perceived anxiety, while rhodiola has been traditionally used for fatigue and stress resilience. Once again, magnesium comes into the conversation. Improved sleep quality is always going to help if you're stressed or overwhelmed, especially if the stress is affecting your sleep. But then there's also interesting adaptogens like functional mushrooms that you may have come across. So this is things like reishi, lion's mane and cordyceps, which are becoming increasingly popular. So lion's mane is particularly interesting because of its interest around cognition and brain health. Cordyceps is marketed around energy and exercise, and reishi has been traditionally associated with relaxation and immune support. So again, it's about matching the supplement with the particular symptom that you've got. So the other one thing I wanted to stress is if you're overwhelmed because you're working 12 to 16 hours a day, you're sleeping 5 hours a night, and you're constantly staring at your phone, scrolling, simply taking an adaptogen isn't going to completely fix the underlying problem. So it's a lifestyle thing that we need to do. But if you're under stress that you temporarily can't remove yourself from, an adaptogen could really help you manage that situation. But long term, we really want to fix the underlying problem that's causing the stress. So less stress, more sleep, better boundaries, and get some time outside in nature. So, improving sleep. There are lots of supplements marketed as natural sleeping pills. So the ones that I'm going to talk about here are magnesium, glycine and valerian. So magnesium is useful if your intake is inadequate. So if you don't think you're getting enough magnesium, a supplement could really help with your sleep quality. Glycine is an amino acid that has been studied for potential effects on sleep quality and body temperature regulation. And valerian is a traditional herbal remedy which has been used for sleep and relaxation for years. There's also other herbs like passion flower, chamomile and lemon balm, which have all been used to promote relaxation. So I want to make another important point here. If you're drinking caffeine late at night, scrolling on your phone till midnight and going to bed at different times every night and getting very little daylight during the day, taking another capsule isn't going to solve everything. So we need to look at the whole sleep routine as well as adding a supplement in to help. Then I wanted to look at the immune system. So first up, vitamins and minerals. So vitamin D, C and zinc are particularly important for maintaining a healthy immune system. Then on the herbal side, there's echinacea. Now this is one that I've personally used for years. So when I used to travel with the bobsleigh team, we would be travelling for 3 or 4 months at a time, sharing rooms with other athletes. If someone came down with a flu or a cold, it was going to get round the team quite quickly. So I used to take echinacea 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off throughout the winter, and I'd almost never get even a cold. Now I don't take it 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off year round. I basically just take it when I feel like I'm getting a bit run down or feel like I'm coming down with something. Then I'll start to take it and take it for 2 weeks. Now, the research isn't completely consistent, but anecdotally for myself, I feel it's worked for me. There is evidence that echinacea can modestly reduce the duration and severity of some respiratory infections. So echinacea is definitely a herb that's worth looking at if you're one of those people that just catches everything that's going round. But if a little is good, a lot doesn't always mean better. So with something like this, you don't want to just take it all the time. After about 2 weeks, the effects of it are going to drop and it's not going to be effective anymore. So it's something that you want to use as and when you need it, not just all the time. Your immune system doesn't need you to throw enormous quantities of supplements at it. It needs us, again, to look at our whole lifestyle. So adequate nutrition, sleep, exercise, stress management, just that generally healthy lifestyle. And then adding in the supplements, again, as an extra. So allergies and seasonal symptoms. So things that might come across that are useful are things like quercetin, which is a plant compound, which has attracted interest because of its role in pathways for inflammation and histamine. Vitamin C may also have a role in histamine metabolism. So if you're taking antihistamines for allergies, hay fever, things like that, then these are supplements that might help. And then one herbal option that is worth looking at is stinging nettle. But this is where we need to be careful about believing everything we see online. One particular supplement, Busabur, has been studied for hay fever and has had some interesting results. But there are compounds in that can be harmful to the liver. So we do need to be really careful and do our research before we just start taking every supplement that's out there. Just because something's natural doesn't mean it's safe in all circumstances. So I just wanted to go through a few basics on vitamins and minerals. So while I'm travelling, I do take a multivitamin and mineral just as like an insurance policy, because I'm not cooking my own food. So I may not be getting all the nutrition that I would if I was cooking all my own food. So my top ones to look out for are things like vitamin D. If you can't get out in the sun, then a vitamin D supplement could be really useful. My top tip for this, and again, it is just my opinion, if you can get out in the morning in the sun without sunglasses on and without sunscreen, just for about 20 minutes, you're going to get the vitamin D absorption from the sun. If you've always got sunscreen on, you are not going to absorb the vitamin D from the sun, but also we do need to be careful how much we're exposing ourselves because we don't want to get burnt. So if you're not getting enough sunlight on your skin, then a vitamin D supplement could be useful. B12, really important for our nervous system and red blood cells. I've mentioned it a few times in all these different areas that we might want help. So B12 could be a useful supplement. It's hard to overdose on this one because it is water soluble, so if you're taking too much, you're just going to pee it out. But it is a really common supplement for energy. Iron. Now, this is essential for carrying oxygen around your body. So when someone's feeling fatigued, this is probably one of the first things I'll check is whether you're anemic. If you suspect you might be, go and get a blood test rather than just taking iron for the sake of it. Magnesium, involved in hundreds of reactions in the body, really good for sleep. I take mine at night. Zinc, really important for the immune system and many other processes in the body. Calcium, again, good for bone health, and vitamin C, again, from immune system, collagen production, and a massive antioxidant. So there's a whole load of vitamins and minerals. So again, match the vitamin and mineral to the issue that you have, or take something like a green powder that naturally contains a lot of these, or a multivitamin, a really good quality one, as like an insurance policy. So my basic message is a balanced diet should provide what you require, but if you're very active or if you're very stressed, you can deplete yourself much quicker, and sometimes you will need a supplement just to help. It isn't a replacement for the healthy diet, but it can add to it if you've got particularly high nutrient needs. So what are my 5 supplement rules? Number 1, food first. Build your diet around nutritious whole foods before worrying about supplements. Number 2, supplement for a reason. Don't just take something because everyone on Instagram is taking it. Research what you need and choose a specific supplement for that need. Number 3, more isn't always better. Your body needs nutrients within certain ranges. Mega dosing isn't automatically beneficial. We can take too much of some things. Number 4, natural doesn't automatically mean safe. Herbs, mushrooms, and adaptogen have very powerful effects, but they can also interact with medications you may already be taking for a condition. Number 5, look at the whole picture. If you're tired, stressed, overweight, struggling to sleep, constantly getting ill, don't immediately ask, what supplement should I take? But ask, what is my body trying to tell me? Because sometimes the answer is a nutrient deficiency. Sometimes we need to get a better sleep routine. Sometimes we need to look at the stress that we're being exposed to. Is our diet optimal? Are we doing any exercise or movement? And sometimes we do need to get a second opinion. So we need to speak to a healthcare professional, a nutritionist, someone that can actually investigate what's going on. So what are my personal essentials? So this changes depending on what I'm doing, what my lifestyle's like at the time, and what my current goals are, and even maybe the time of year. So at the moment, my top 3 whilst travelling and managing the menopause are creatine, because I'm always wanting to optimise my muscles, and since I've realised it also has a good effect on the brain. Turmeric for inflammation, I mentioned earlier, and then the multivitamin and mineral that's my little backup while I'm travelling. and my nutrition is maybe not as organised as usual. The other thing I'm taking is the Sacha Inchi oil for omega-3. This has got particularly high omega-3, which is useful for the menopause especially, and my magnesium at night. So I did say top 3, but that's actually 5 things that I travel with. So just to finish, there's some supplements with really strong evidence behind them, and some that have been traditionally used for hundreds of years that have got anecdotal evidence. The trick is learning to identify what you actually need and be specific about it, rather than wasting loads of money just taking everything that's popular at the time. So that's what I really love about this podcast. It's not just looking for the next magic pill. It's not trying to optimize every tiny aspect of your life, but it's understanding what your mind and body needs and making good choices most of the time, using the tools available to you to live a happier, healthy and more energetic life. So thanks for listening. I've just filmed this in one take. I'm hoping there wasn't too much background noise and that you can hear it fine. I shall see you next time on Live Your Best Life. Have a great week.